Recording in progress. Hello? 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 Hello?
Okay, Ken, that's everybody.
Okay, thanks, Justin. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We had a little extension on our law enforcement committee meeting this morning, but welcome. Do we have Michelle to tell us whether we have a quorum?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, you do have a quorum.
We have a quorum, but we have
Short board.
a short board, which is, as you know, we consist of 10 commissioners. We have a vacancy. We have a couple of absences. So with a short board for those who are affected, it means that for anything to pass, it would have to be a unanimous vote of all 6 attending commissioners. So with that in mind, as we deal with subjects as we go through the meeting, the people will have the option, will allow the people to take the option to table it if for some reason their project looked to be more controversial than they thought. Having said that, can we have an approval of the meeting minutes for the April 2022 meeting? We have a motion. Motion is made, motion is seconded. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion to accept the meeting minutes for April 2022? Signify, and the motion is carried. Fiscal actions report for April 2022. Motion's made, motion seconded. All in favor? No discussion. Motion's carried. I neglected to mention that this is meeting number 516 being held Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Item 3 on our agenda, the Lake George Park Commission Septic System Inspection Report for, I hope everybody who lives in Lake George Park is aware that the commission and just an awful lot of partners from the communities have been working diligently for a couple of years on our Lake George septic inspection system. And the resolution that we're hopefully going to adopt today will allow us to forward the completed documents to Albany for their review and answer, hopefully an approval of our program so that can allow us to move forward. David, do you have any highlights that you want to add to that?
We were all just up on this.
No, Ken, I think that's a good background. We've had a great ad hoc committee. Several of the people I think on the call today have been on our committee. We thank them for their time. It's been extremely helpful in creating and forming the program as we have here today. We think it's going to be very reasonable to the public. It follows on many models, dozens of models throughout New York State that we've had the great benefit of learning from, particularly in the Finger Lakes and also the New York City Watershed Program. So we think we have a program that's definitely publicly sustainable and supportable, and it will be good for the future of Lake George. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Joe, I meant to call you earlier about resolutions. Do you have a copy of that resolution you can read?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Lake George Park Commission Resolution number 2022-23, Water Management Regulations, 6 NY CRR 6446-3. Whereas Lake George Park Commission is empowered pursuant to Article 43 of the Environmental Conservation Law to preserve, protect, and enhance the unique natural and scenic resources of Lake George, to propagate rules and regulations, furtherance of these proposes. And whereas the Lake George Park Commission is directed to adapt rules and regulations in conformity with the provisions of the Environmental Conservation Law, including sections 43-0110, regulating promulgation of rules and regulations relative to the discharge of sewage and treated sewage effluent onto the land and into the groundwater of the park, and to ensure optimum protection of ground surface waters within the park, including sewage or treated sewage effluent applied to the soil entering the groundwater through runoff, seepage, population, spray integration, and ground and spring water flow. Whereas the Lake George Park Commission has proposed the adoption of the 6 NYCRR 646-3 as the wastewater management regulations for the Lake George Park. And whereas the commission issued a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act on April 26, 2022. And whereas the commission has reviewed the full text of the proposed regulation, additional documentation in accordance with the State Administrative Procedure Act and Executive Order number 17, whereas the commission proposed to communicate to SAPA rulemaking process for these regulations, now therefore be it resolved that the commission hereby authorizes the chairman, executive director, and council to submit the proposed text of 6 NYCRR 646-3 with all supporting documentation to the Regulatory Review Unit within the New York State Division of Budget and Review. And be further resolved that the commission hereby authorizes the chairman, executive director, and council for the commission to make minor modifications to the aforesaid documents as they deem necessary and appropriate, and prepare and file any additional documents requested by the Regulatory Review Unit to permit publication in the state registry. So moved.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Any discussion any further questions by any commissioners? Seeing none, I'll ask for a vote, signify by normal. And somebody's counting, I presume, and it appears that motion is carried. This is an important project for the Park Commission, and it's more important project for the Lake George Park. And we still have to continue to say thanks to all the folks that helped us, especially the municipalities, the Department of Health, the Department of Environmental Conservation. Their input was just tremendous. Their help was tremendous. Kept us on the right and narrow. Been a long time coming. A lot of work by Dave and Carla and Joe, and we thank you for that. And this is hopefully the next to the last step for getting a project approved. And if it is approved, we'll hopefully be in business by 2023, and we'll be informing the world of how we're going to be operating. We do have an operating plan prepared, and we're working on a budget and things like that. So,
Mr. Chairman, I was wondering if we
Yes.
might be able to ask Carla for a 60-second update on the next steps in the process. I just want to make sure everybody's aware that just by this approval by the commission, there's still some next steps that need to be taken. Could we do that?
great idea.
Thank you. I was going to ask if I could do that as well, just to put everybody on the same page. So at this point, we have the package ready to go to some minor modifications, typographical, grammatical issues on some of the SAPA documents that will all go out tomorrow to the Division of Budget. And what they will do is they will review it all, and they will let us know if they're good to go. If they say, yes, you're good to go, they send it all back to us. And at that point, we have the right to publish it in the state register. Once we publish it in the state register, we have a 60-day period of public comment. After that 60-day period of public comment, then we have our public hearing. Then there's another 5 days, and then we're able to adopt the regulations, provided there's no substantive issues or anything changes to that effect. So at this point, really, we're going to submit everything tomorrow. And then unfortunately for the public, until the Division of Budget, the executive chamber down in Albany tells us to, we can't release the actual language, although the commission's been very good about telling everyone what it entails. But the actual language has to be vetted through Albany, like it does with all regulations. And once Albany gives us the go-ahead, it's able to go out to the state register and then able to be put up on the commission's website and distributed however the commission finds it best. So we still have a little bit of time. We're hoping to have our public hearings towards August, beginning of September, when most of the voting public is still in the area, especially since Zoom meetings really aren't going to be much of a thing, unfortunately, much anymore, at least for the commissioners. So ultimately, at this point, we're going to submit it to Albany, and then when Albany tells us to go, the minute we get the go-ahead, we're going to submit it out to everybody else.
Thank you. And this very important project also just continues the legacy of Bruce Young's chairmanship. Excuse my voice this morning, but apparently I'm losing it on a daily basis here. We're all set with that item, and now we will go to project review actions. Resolution, Joe?
Yep, resolution 2022-24, meeting number 516. Accept the project review actions report. Whereas the commission had received and reviewed the project review actions report prepared by staff and dated 5/17/2022. And whereas the project review committee recommends acceptance of the project review actions report, now therefore be resolved, the commission directs that the project review actions report be incorporated in the minutes of the full commission meeting. So moved.
Motion made, motion seconded. Discussion, all in favor, signify, signal of one hand or the other. Motion is carried. Thank you. Next item, variance request for dock modification submitted by Raymond and Mary Ciccarelli Trust in the town of Bolton. Joe Tuen, is that your lead?
Thank you, Chairman. Actually, Jason Kokinos was the point person on this, so I'll turn it over to Jason to introduce.
Sure. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Chairman. So I'll present on both projects today, and we'll start with the dock modification of the Ciccarelli property. So Ray Ciccarelli Jr. has submitted a variance request to the commission to lengthen a dock an additional 8 feet and increase its width an additional 8 inches beyond its registered dimensions. The dock is originally permitted for dimensions of 24 feet by 3 feet. However, prior to the applicant's purchase, it had been modified without a permit to dimensions of 27 feet by 4 feet. The applicant has signed an order of consent agreeing to bring the structure to compliance. The reason for the variance request today is challenges to berthing on the southern side due to rocky conditions and shallow water, and the desire to make the dock wide enough for handicap accessible persons in the family. The packet provided has some analysis on the water depth and the distance from neighbors and setbacks. There was comment from both neighbors, some concern about boat traffic, safety, and congestion in the area. In the packet are the comments. The applicant and the commenters, I believe, are here today to explain a little bit more about the project. So I'll invite Mr. Ciccarelli Jr. to speak a little bit more about the variance request, and I'll open it up to the floor for the commissioners to ask questions of him and others about the project. But please let me know if you need any more information about the analysis or any technical parts of the project.
Mr. Ciccarelli, you would like to say something?
Well, thank you. I just want to say that it's been a pleasure working with Jason. Certainly learned a lot in this process, and he was quite helpful and made the process very understandable for us. So I've never met Jason in person, obviously due to the reason we're here by Zoom. So Jason, I want to thank you publicly and appreciate all your hard work, and Lieutenant Johns as well, who I have not met in person, but thank you both. My name is Raymond Ciccarelli Jr. The property that we're talking about was purchased by our family in October of 2021, last fall. I am here with my wife, Mary, my 2 sons, Blair and Carl. As you can hear in the raspiness of my voice, I've been ill recently. So my my throat, my voice will not last long enough to answer a lot of your questions. So you may see Blair, our eldest son, for answering many of your questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience would like to speak either in support or against this project? Have any comments at all?
Yes, sir. My name is Blair. I'm Raymond's son. I just had a couple of points I'd like to bring up to further clarify what we're trying to do with the property on Winsong Lane. Essentially, we're looking to reconfigure this dock. Our understanding was that in 2004, a permit to repair the dock was given to the previous owners. And at some point over the last 18 years, that dock has ultimately ended up being 4 feet by 27 feet in dimensions. And that gives it a square footage of 108 square feet. What we are looking to do is actually reduce the square footage by reconfiguring the dock to a 3-foot plank width of the dock to allow for 36 inches in between 4x4 dock posts, ultimately making the full structure with a 3-foot 8-inch structure. But again, the square footage would remain under 100 square feet. In the packet, there were several aerial photos which do show the existing dock on Winsong Lane, as well as the shorelines of 14 and 18 Winsong Lane. To the north, there is a U-shaped dock with dimensions outlined in Jason's dock separation analysis. The southernmost part of that U does abut the property line between 18 and 16 Winsong. And to the south, there is an atypical shaped cove, which does lead to some shallow water, which would be a potential safety risk with any vessel parked on that south side. So again, what we're looking to do is reconfigure the dock to make it more usable, make it safer. And finally, I would like to also address that we did read the concerns from neighbors. We've lived in this community for 60 plus years. We understand that balance between development and use, as well as conservation. In reading that and also speaking with legal counsel, it seems like the main concerns are revolving around trespassing into the property of 16 Winsong Lane, whether it's for kayak and or boat usage. Regardless of this process, we would want to keep the shoreline safe, and that's ultimately our goal here. With that being said, we appreciate the time and look to thankful for your time. Thank you.
Very well said, Blair. Thank you. Justin, is there anybody else that signified that they'd like to speak?
Not that I can see.
I would like to speak if I
Oh,
could.
okay. Go ahead.
I'm the
Can you just
owner
state
of,
your name?
Kathleen Lee.
Thank you.
I'm the owner of 18 Winsong Lane. So the property next door to the north. And my concern is that they've already parked a boat there. And my concern is that I won't be able to use the exterior part of my northern dock if they park more than one boat in that area. So there's always been boats parked there. The previous owner had a boat, parked it there. I also could park my boat there on the exterior side or the southern side of my northern dock. And my concern now is that if they put more than one watercraft in there, if they want to extend the dock by 6 feet, then it wouldn't be possible for me to get in and out of there, which is what I stated in the documents that I previously sent in to Jason. So we understand that they want to make adjustments to the property. We totally understand that. But I am concerned about the space there because it's very limited.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any commissioners? Hearing nobody else from the public, Jason, any commissioners have questions, comments about the project?
We visited the site, Ken, a couple of commissioners and everything. And it does appear that the new owners are trying to come up with a compromise and shorten the dock. And it appears as though even if they put 2 boats there, they're almost 20 feet from the property line. And one of the ways they could easily move a boat if it was the inside boat, is to manually hand move the boat out of the first slot so that the second boat could be pulled out without necessarily going and interfering with the property northern. So I think this is a reasonable compromise to come up with a solution to the violation that's currently in process now.
Thank you. Anybody else that was there have any comments? Mr. Ciccarelli, is it Ciccarelli or Ciccarelli? Because
It's both.
It's Ciccarelli.
Yeah,
You know,
Ciccarelli. Let's make it easy for today and say
you
Ciccarelli.
spend a lifetime driving by the sign, you add the H into it automatically.
Yeah, well, I was never, I was the part of the family that wasn't involved in the business. So my professional career started as a teacher, and I was always called Mr. Ciccarelli. So my mother and father didn't even agree on it. So whatever you prefer is fine.
We'll just call you Ray.
That sounds good.
Do you have any comments as to the compromise that Commissioner Stanek has just mentioned about how you keep your boats and allowing the neighbors to have the
Sure,
access?
I'll let Blair.
I mean,
answer for you.
I'd say compromise is exactly, what we're trying to do. Like I said, we are not looking to come in here and disturb a nice little area of the lake. That's the whole attractive aspect of it. We've looked at other alternatives. I've read through, the Park Commission criteria for variances and such. Other things that were considered, things like a boat lift would both be a financial and an aesthetic hardship. From our point of view, we're certainly not looking to do anything like that. But the reality is, with the prevailing winds in that aspect of the lake, it comes right across out of the south. Most days there's a big south wind there. It does create a lot of boat rock on a dock, and we would look to, again, have a reinforced dock without getting underwater damage to the shoreline or to vessels in either the lower unit or boats. We're talking about keeping some small size boats for Lake George. We're not looking to have a big cabin cruise or anything. These are small vessels that would be used, kind of consistent with other docks in that area. If you go from Bell Point to Lagoon Manor to both of our neighbors' docks, which whose square footage would be more than double the square footage that our even new proposal would come in at. So again, this would fit in nicely with the existing nature of the shoreline. And we're really just trying to make it a safe spot to use a boat or two and have friends and family over.
And I can assure you it'll be as aesthetically pleasing and responsible. And my track record kind of speaks to that with projects I've been involved in. We can assure you that is very important to us.
Okay, thank you. As we have a short board, as I defined earlier, I think we'll go to a roll call vote just to make sure that we're all set. I will attempt to do it as well as I can without having your physical bodies in front of me. I'll start with you, Joe. Your vote.
Positive, affirmative.
Dave.
I visited the site. I'm affirmative also.
Okay. Kathy.
She's mute.
She did raise her hand.
Kathy, are you there?
Yes, I forgot to unmute myself. Yes, okay. Yes.
Commissioner Nishaw,
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes, but don't we need to have a motion first?
That's why we have you at the meeting, John.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm proud of my
let's back
brother,
up.
Superintendent.
Let's back up to Joe Stanek. You want to make
Right.
a motion?
Yeah, resolution 2022-25. Approval variance for dock modification. Application number is DWM 22 4 zeros and a 36 dock modification for 6 Windsong Lane, Bolton, New York. Applicant is Cicerelli Family Trust. The applicant has applied for a permit to lengthen an existing dock an additional 8 feet and widen the dock 8 inches And whereas the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record, and the commission has made a determination pursuant to 6 NYCRR 645-3.6 and the State Environmental and Quality Review Act 6 NYCRR 617.5 that the project is a type 2 action and does not require any further potential environmental impact pursuant to this act. And whereas the action is considered to be a minor project pursuant to 6 NY CRR 645-5.3, and public notice has been published and distributed, and the applicant has requested a variance from 6 NY CR 466-1.1C11. Every dock or wharf constructed shall have a minimum setback of 20 feet from the adjacent property line extended into the lake on the same axis as the property line runs onshore where it meets the lake or at an right angle to the mean high water mark, whichever results in the greater setback. Whereas the applicant has demonstrated the strict conformance with the regulations will cause unnecessary hardship to do unique and peculiar circumstances which impose additional substantial financial, technical, and safety burdens. The commission finds that there is no reasonable possibility that an applicant's property, or if no property is involved, the continuation of the applicant's business, enterprise, use, or activity will bring a reasonable return following conformance with the regulation. And whereas the commission finds that the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential character of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, will not have an undue visual, cultural, or audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved that the Lake George Park Commission hereby approves the request for variance and approves the above application. So moved.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. Commissioner McDonald gets the Commissioner of the Month award for process. Actually, I heard all the votes, so I think we can signify by the sign of yes.
Yeah.
Are there any nay votes for this? Hearing none, the resolution is passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Much appreciated.
We thank you.
Good luck. Now, our second item is a new marina and turbo application submitted by KDS Group LLC in the village of Lake George. And Joe or Jason?
Hey, this one will be me again, so I'll give the background and then open it up to the applicants and any commenters. So this is for the KDS Group LLC doing business as the O'Sullivan's Motel. Have applied for a new Class A marina permit, proposing to offer 2 seasonal berthing slips and berthing for 1 existing charter vessel on their 64 by 3 foot stake dock. The fishing charter vessel was previously working out of a different Class A marina, the Flamingo. They're proposing to have it in this one, provided that it passes. The neighbors to the south, the Surfside Motel, have opposed opposition to the project due to concerns of safety and berthing issues of the southernmost portion of the dock, the 2 seasonal berthing slips being in proximity to the swimming area. There was no jurisdiction from APA, but it did get Village of Lake George approval. I have added a berthing plan and the background of the services provided for the marina in the packet. We've added a picture taken several years ago that shows the berthing kind of layout, or where the dock currently is now and was before it was replaced. So please let me know if you need any more background on the technical parts of the project, but I believe that the applicants and commenters are here, so I'll open it up to Matthew today to speak a little bit about the proposed marina and take it from there with the commissioners. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. I am here as the general manager of O'Sullivan's Motel. I have the owner of the property, Derek Shapancic, here with me as well. I did just want to start by saying Jason has been an immense help on this project, just to make sure that we had everything done by the books, done correctly, and had as much information in there as as needed. As everything states, we had a previously existing dock that we had replaced with a new dock this season. Everything's in the same location as it had been. We are looking to put a fishing charter on the north side of the dock. This is, as Jason had mentioned, a charter that used to run out of the Flamingo up in Diamond Point. The new owners, I guess, were changing around what they were doing with their dock slips. So he was, I guess his lease was not renewed, so he was looking for other options. So being a longstanding business on the lake, we did want to see if we could figure something out to work with him. We were also looking to add 2 seasonal slips on the southern side of the dock. This was something that we wanted to add because normally with our previously existing dock, there would be guests from our property and the surrounding 2 properties that would come and go as they please throughout the day. So resulting in a fair amount of daily boat traffic. Putting in the 2 seasonal slips, we would hope would be less boat traffic since they would be local to the area and more experienced boaters. So that way it would be safer in a high traffic area.
Thank you. Jason, is there anybody else to speak to the project?
I believe that the owners and the manager of the Surfside are here. So I don't know, Salim or Chris, if you'd like to speak at all, you can unmute yourselves.
Salim, it looks like you're muted. There you go.
Hello, Jason and the board members. I'm Salim from the Surfside. We've had a great relationship with our neighbor, O'Sullivan, Derek. Our main concern is their dock space is in their property, the new dock location. If they were to have a boat on the south side, any boat that would be over the size of 7-foot beam area would actually be hitting our imaginary line. That location on that on our north side of our property is where we launch our kayaks, and there is obviously congestion up there with our guests using renting the kayaks and the few stand-up boards that we have registered with you. If their dock had been located further north, they would have been able to easily put an 8.5-foot beam boat up there. But to the location where it is right now, it is extremely hazardous. It is just a question of waiting for an accident to happen. And none of us in Lake George really want to see that happen. For the record, I'm very concerned. Boats, no matter how professional boat driver you are, just a little slip and you either reversing or going forward, mistakes do happen. And we feel very concerned. I mean, they can put in rowboats, they can put jet skis on that side. There is enough maneuverability for them to move those type of boats up there. But if they really wanted to put a larger boat, they would have to relocate their dock space, their dock actually a little bit further north of their property in order to accommodate the size of boats they want to accommodate. Not that we have an objection for their accommodation of their boats, but because where it is located, it will, if they had an 8.5-foot beam boat, consider you'll also have a buoy space of at least 1 foot, between the boat and the dock, and then you have the boat. So they will be way beyond the imaginary borderline on the lake between Surfside and O'Sullivan. It is just very risky to have a large boat on that side. And obviously I had to comply at the rock ledge, not to able to put a larger boat on the boathouse where I'm located, because any boat that was larger than a 7.5-foot beam, which there are not many boats with a 7.5-foot beam, would overpass the imaginary line to my neighbor, which puts me in violation.
Thank you, Celine. Anyone else to speak to the project?
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, since Celine brought up some technical issues that are always reviewed by staff, perhaps Jason or Joe can comment on that specific technical part for our commissioners.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. So one thing to note with the berthing is that on Lake George, our regulations call for the lesser of the setbacks when we consider the shoreline perpendicular and this imaginary line into the lake, the property line extension is the lesser of the setbacks. And that's opposite often of what we consider with construction, which is the greater the setbacks. So I did provide an analysis of the berthing plan, and I found that with an 8-foot vessel, a 24-foot vessel as they proposed, they would have room for a minimum of a 9-foot berthing space that goes up to a 21-foot berthing space. So that's provided on the plan there. I show the setback lines, and there's also a picture that shows conditions 2 pages later about the approximate size of boats that would be there. So that can give you a better kind of perspective of how the boats would fit there. And then I have a memo on our recreational analysis and what this would add to the overall character of the lake and traffic in that area, speaking less to the actual berthing and safety, but to the overall just congestion of the area. So if you have any questions on those parts of the memo or the packet that I wrote, just let me know.
Okay. Did the project committee visit the site?
Yes, we visited the site, and 2 things that's notable in the packet that Jason has provided is a picture of the dock as well as the swimming area has been marked off. So currently, the owner has the ability to have his guests store boats there on his dock. And so this is only a change. And I believe that the Marine Patrol has noted that they're in favor of the change because of experienced boaters will probably lease the property, or lease the slips, as opposed to visitors that come in and use the dock for a week or so. So I think that we're kind of in favor of moving forward with a more safety approach to this variance.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question about clarification?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
I would like a little clarification about where the kayaks would be launched. I know that the buoys are going to be up delineating the area for the swimming, but will the kayaks be outside that area where if you have the buoys up delineating the swimming area to keep people safe, then are the kayaks going to be launching offshore on the property line or where? Let's see.
Can you see the photograph that shows you the kayak launches is right on the borderline between O'Sullivan's and our swimming area? And
Well, I'm sorry, Celine.
Can you see the photograph there showing the kayaks, which are basically just right at the border of our property line? And that's
I can. Well, what did they do in the past when the residents would just come and go quickly? They would come, a new tourist would come in with his boat and then they would leave. Then another tourist would come in with a different kind of boat. What did you do in the past with that issue?
We've had numerous complaints from our guests because obviously In the past, Derek had transient people up there. We've had very close incidents happening up there
With that specific boat.
with that Pacific boat in this picture where we had an issue and very concerned. Every year I've been informing Derek that please move because there were temporary docks. He would place them back on every year. He would rebuild them. And I mentioned to him, Derek, every year you seem to be moving closer and closer. But apparently his borderline is pretty much to where the permit allows him to be. And I always recommended him to move it out a little bit to avoid a hazard. This is an accident waiting to happen. And we have 154 rooms, close to 600 guests at the hotel. And you know what July and August is? When it's a hot day, everybody is in the lake. This is an accident waiting to happen. I want to put it on the record, whatever the decision is made, that I want to state on the record that tomorrow, if there is an accident that happens, that I try to avoid this incident to happen. Okay, and nobody wants the publicity. I don't need the headaches. The Lake George doesn't need the publicity that somebody got hurt from a boat accident swimming at the surfside. It is too close. It literally, I would like to, I would like the imaginary line to be actually staked out on the lake. And I'm sure that that any vessel larger than 7-foot beam is gonna bypass the imaginary line, which is our property imaginary line for our right for the lake, for our swim area, for our property. It will be in our kayak area. I plan to put buoys as vertical as possible, as correct as possible, just to show that if there's a boat up there, that they are not passing the imaginary line. This is the safety for my guest here at the Surfside. Derek's son, Matt, has recommended that he wants to apply for a variance so he can move his dock further north. With my last conversation at the when I met him at the Lake George Village, approval for the docks up there, where I made no objection because he understood very clearly that this is a hazardous area if he was to park a boat up there, and he would pass, to my understanding, it would pass the imaginary line. That would mean the boat would be on the surfside side of the property. As I mentioned, I'm very concerned. We have a lot of traffic there, and it is at that corner where the kayaks and the stand-up boats are launched. And it's just too tight. They come in that side and they leave that side.
Salim, you understand that what they're doing now is legal, and also the fact that you're planning to put in a buoy marker so your kayak users will be in safe waters. Well, that's a good idea. Good.
But I don't think the boat will fit. I don't think an 8.5 foot, 7.5 foot boat will not fit on that dock if I put that buoy line there.
Well, why don't we see if that happens?
And I wouldn't mind the park commission to come and help me show where that line is. So this way I'm not here to create my own line. I'm not here to do that. I wouldn't mind somebody coming here, Jason, coming and distinguishing where that line is. And this way it's black and white, I'm not here to create my line.
I've seen it on the map, and it's very, very well illustrated, and I think you'll be fine.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes, you may.
you cannot put any floating objects in the lake, any buoys without a permit from the DEC. Just want to be clear on that.
Well, thank you for the clarification. I have no problem. We will apply for a safety buoys for that location in the next meeting. We have not placed them in the lake, but we will apply for that. It really is for the safety of the lake. We just don't want any bad publicity. And as mentioned, it is prone for an accident to happen in that area.
Salim, the lieutenant mentioned the DEC permit, and our staff would guide you as to where you're supposed to go with that if that's necessary. You know that. Matt, as the applicant, you have further comments?
I do, just a quick thing to mention. I believe Salim's talking about the buoys or the markers for his swimming area, not anything separate from that. So I want to say that goes under the health department. The one thing I did just want to mention, if he does decide to put the buoys up to the property line, as per the health department, they are not allowed to have any vessels, be it kayaks, paddle boards, or anything like that, crossing through that marked swim area. So if he decides to put the buoys up against the property line, then he would be putting himself out of use with those kayaks and the paddle boards. With that being said, on the safety, that has been something that we understand. You know, when people come through that are the transients that are staying with us or staying at other properties, they see a free dock space, or they see a free dock, so they're like, oh, we'll pull in, we'll unload and pop back on, and that just results in an increase in boat traffic in obviously, as we've mentioned, a populated area. We are looking to put in those seasonal slips just so the dock is, to put it bluntly, full. So if there's anyone that is not one of those seasonal slips that comes in, they have nowhere to go, and that way they can actually go down to the village docks to properly load and unload, instead of trying to sneak onto a dock of one of the businesses in the area.
I'd just like to clarify, Matt, it's actually, we have a swim area and between.
Time out. Time out. We're not going to get involved in anything other than what's on the application today. If there are further items to pursue, we will make our staff available to all parties concerned to clear up any questions, to establish guidelines, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Joe Tholen has a question.
Pardon me?
I said Joe Tholen had his hands up to make a comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Vice Chairman. I just wanted to clarify, listening to Salim, he sounds like he's speaking about the property line extended into the lake and that there's only about 7 feet, which is accurate. But to reiterate Jason's point, our regulations say that berthing is controlled by the property line extended or by the perpendicular, whichever affords the person berthing the boat more space. And in Jason's analysis, the berthing area provides, the perpendicular line provides a berthing slip that ranges from 9 feet in width to 21 feet in width. So although they may be crossing the property line extension, they may still legally berth there. So I just want to make sure that was clear.
Right, yeah. Thank you. Any commissioners have a comment, but I'm going to ask Justin or whomever. Jim Nishaw just left me a message on my phone that in his words, my iPad just crapped out. And so that removes him. Maybe we have to put him on the phone call for a vote.
Hey, Ken, I believe I just admitted him on the phone.
All right, case state. Okay, any commissioners have questions about or comments regards to this application? Hearing not one, I'll miraculously ask for a resolution.
Okay, resolution 2022-26. Application numbers M22-5 zeros and a 3. Applicant is KDS Group LLC, Derek Shipbass. Whereas the applicant has applied for a new Class A marina offering 2 seasonal bird slips and 1 fishing charter, and whereas the Lake George Park Commission has reviewed the application, supporting documents, comments received, and other information which appears in the record, the commission has made a determination that the project is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental and Quality Review Act 6 NYCRR 617-5, that are 0.5, and as lead agency for the purpose of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, has made a determination that the project will not significantly impact on the environment. The action is considered to be a major project pursuant to 6 NYCRR 645-5.3. Public notice has been published and distributed as requested. Whereas the applicant has demonstrated that the facility complies with the Class A marina requirements of 6 NYCRR 646-1.2B, and whereas the commission finds the project will have no adverse impact on the health, safety, or welfare of the public, the environment, or the resources of the park, will not alter the essential characters of the area in which it is proposed, will not lead to congestion in the park, will not have an undue visual, cultural, audible impact on the neighborhood or the park. Now therefore be resolved, the Lake George Park Commission hereby resolves to approve the above application as proposed. So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second. Motion's made and second. We've had comment. Why don't I just skip through the names real quickly on a roll call? Commissioner Stanek,
Yes.
LaBombard,
Yes.
Nisha,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Floyd,
Yes.
Chair, yes. The project is approved. Good luck to you all. The most important thing we need on that section of the lake, which is a busy section, is good neighbors, and I hope you folks continue communicating on your property line there. We'll help you where we can if necessary.
Of
Going
course,
forward.
we appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck. Thank you. The Law Enforcement Committee report by the new Law Enforcement Committee Chairman, Mr. Floyd.
We had a very extensive law enforcement meeting this morning. First of all, we have 5 boats in the water of our 8. And as the season progresses, the other 3 will be added to the lake. We are also having gas issues, just like any gasoline issues, just like many to the rest of the country, with our pumps not working, but I think that's being resolved in the near future. We went to executive session and we reviewed several of our enforcement actions, our ongoing ones, on new cases and on cases that have been closed. An item also, which I think we should be discussing, is the fact that we are going to be conducting boater safety and we're going to be doing boater safety classes on June 25th. We have 4 openings left, and those classes will be held at the commission's offices. And I may note to everyone that there is a state law. There is a state law now that all motorized boats, anybody operating it, has to have a boating safety certificate. And if you were born after January 1, 1988, you have to have that certificate now. And by 2025, all ages operating a boat on Lake George have to have that certificate. You can been 22, 23, 24, but by 25, anybody operating a boat on Lake George must have that certificate. I might also note that we are going to be conducting classes in Bolton Landing Town Hall on July 11th and 12th. And I highly recommend that don't delay on getting the certificate. I took the class with my grandchildren, and it's very interesting that once they get in the boat with their fathers, they're correcting their fathers and all the mistakes they're making out on the lake. But it is a law. It's not Lake George Park Commission. It's done by New York State. And last item, the State Parks Department had has conducted training for all boat controls on Lake George. We've done this for the last 10 years. And the training just ended this week after 2 weeks of training. So if you saw a lot of strange boats out there, they're no longer out there. The training is over. And beyond that, sir, I have a resolution to read. Resolution 2022-27. Whereas the Law Enforcement Committee met via teleconference on May 24th, 2022 to review matters pertaining to the Lake George Park Commission's Marine Patrol and the Commission's law enforcement program. And whereas active law enforcement cases and their status of review in executive session, and whereas the Law Enforcement Committee has reported on the results of the committee meeting at this full commission meeting, and whereas the Law Enforcement Committee recommends acceptance of this month's law enforcement report. Now therefore be it resolved that the commission accepts the report of the Law Enforcement Committee. So moved.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. All in favor, signify. Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now, we're at our public comments, and I need Justin front and center to help me out with this. I will ask anyone wishing to make a public comment to identify themselves, please, for our taping process. And hopefully, this is our last public Zoom meeting, and we'll be in person someplace. We'll announce that for our June meeting. But Justin, can you bring them forward one at a time?
Sure. Yep. If there's anyone who'd like to make a comment, go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name. Walt?
I'm Walt Lender from the Lake George Association. I just wanted to thank the commission for the action that it took today on the septic inspection program, moving that forward to the next step. I've enjoyed working with the commission on the ad hoc committee, and I look forward to helping out with the public hearings if there's any need. Thank you.
Thank you. We look forward to your continued help on that, Walt.
Anyone else like to make a comment?
All right.
Hearing none.
Hearing none.
Move for adjournment.
There's a motion made to adjournment. There's a second out there somewhere. And there's all in favor in front of us. And thank you, everybody, for attending and your input. And we'll see you the next time.
Thank you.